Welcome back to Programming, Logic and Design. In this section, we're going to be discussing the for loop. Now, a for statement or a for loop is a definite loop. When I talk about a definite loop is a loop that's going to execute a number of times definitely. So it can execute 3 times, 4 times. For instance, if you have a look at this example, it's going to execute exactly 4 times. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Remember, we are counting from 0 and including 3. So what's actually happening is 3 actions are being performed automatically within the for statement. We are initializing 0, count to be 0. Then we are evaluating our count to whether it is equal to 3. And then we are going to alter it. In other words, we are going to step it up 1. So if it was at 0, we're going to step it up 1 to be 1. And then we're going to evaluate it against the number 3. And if it is equal to, then we are going to exit the program. If it's not equal to, then we're going to output hello. For you to understand the for loop, we're going to have to play computer. In other words, we're going to desk check a bit. All right, so we have count is equal to 0. So count is being initialized to 0 here. Through to 3, so we are going to be evaluating. How we're going to evaluate is if whatever our count value is less than or equal to 3. So in this case, 0 is less than or equal to 3. And if that is true, then we're going to type true. If that is false, we're going to type false. And if it's true, we output hello, which in this case it is true. And then we're going to alter our count value. So step 1 it means we're altering our count value. So we're going A4, which is our original count, plus 1 is 1. So now count is 1. So we evaluate 1 against 3 and less than or equal to 3, which is true. We output hello and we alter 1 now to be 2. So now count is 2. Is 2 less than or equal to 3? Yes, it is. Then we output hello. Now we alter our count variable, which is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. We count is now 3. We evaluate that to less than or equal to 3, which is true. It is equal to 3. We output hello. Then we alter our 3. So 3 plus 1 is 4. Count is now 4. We evaluate count to our condition, which is count is less than or equal to 3, is 4 less than or equal to 3. It is false, so therefore we exit the loop. So this statement here, we are checking the count value against the limit value 3. So our limit value 3 meaning that it must be equal to 3. If the value evaluation is true, then of course the statement body, which is hello, will be executed and outputted. Now, if you had to compare our for loop to our while loop, these two actions execute the same way. If we had to compare the for loop and the while loop, you can see that with the while loop, we have to initialize count at the beginning before we enter the loop. Then we have our evaluation here of our while loop. Then we output hello if this evaluation is true, and then we increment count. Then we loop back up and check our condition. We evaluate our condition, print out hello if it's true, and increment. Notice here we have 5 lines of code, whereas here we have only 3 lines of code. So therefore, the loop control variable is handled automatically by the for statements, and therefore we have fewer lines of code in our for loop. Fewer lines of code equals an increase in your processing time. So in conclusion, our step value is the amount by which the loop control variable is going to change. So it can be positive or negative, in other words, incrementing or decrementing the loop control variable. Its default step value is 1. Now, a programmer can specify a step value when each pass through the loop changes the loop control variable by the value other than 1. So you can use 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can increment it as many values as you want. Here is a lovely quick reference to how to use the for loop. You have your for and your end for, which are your keywords. Please note that your loop control variable, this will be whatever variable you name. In this case, it was count. Your initial value, you can start at 0, you can start at 1, you can start at 2, depends on your program. Your final value will be what how many times you are going to have your program iterate, and how many times, in other words, how many times you're going to have your loop repeat. To what value will you repeat? So always make sure that you count from your initial value to your final value to make sure that if it is 4, then your initial value should be 0 to 3 or 1 to 5. Then your step value will be what you are increasing by. In this case, you increase by 1 it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can also make it all even numbers, so it will be increased by 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. In the desk checking, you saw that the while statement could be used in place of the for loop. Now, you get 2 different types of loops. You get the pre-test loop, which is the loop that's controlled variable is tested before each iteration. And then you get the post-test loop, which the loop control variable is tested after each iteration. So your for loops and your while loops will be your pre-test loop, and your post-test loop will be your do while or your do until loops. Please join me in the next video in which I'll be discussing common loop applications.